Picture a machine so vast it completely swallows the light of a raging sun, turning the violent furnace of creation into a controlled, rhythmic heartbeat. This cosmic structure is not built from heavy stone or primitive steel, but woven from the absolute limits of molecular engineering, forming threads thinner than a breath yet strong enough to tether the heavens. It is a masterpiece of celestial architecture that does not imprison the star, but gracefully harvests its infinite energy to fuel an eternal, perfectly managed golden age. If we were to look closer into the pitch-black canvas of the night sky, we might realise that the empty spaces between the constellations are not actually empty at all. Surprisingly, the most advanced empires in the universe might be hiding in plain sight, having wrapped themselves in cloaks of captured light to live in absolute quiet harmony away from the cold interstellar winds. The haunting question echoes continuously through our greatest observatories. Are we truly alone in the dark, or simply too young to recognise the glowing infrared silhouettes of our ancient neighbours? Deep within that mysterious dark, millions of delicate mirrors perform a slow, silent dance, seamlessly adjusting their orbital paths by sailing on the gentle pressure of starlight itself. Imagine a peaceful civilization that has entirely outgrown the desperate, violent need for planetary expansion, choosing instead to rest inside a warm, customized paradise that will outlast the natural lifespan of the galaxy. These shimmering megastructures represent the ultimate zenith of progress, a glorious destination waiting patiently for humanity to take its very first steps into the waiting void. Now, gently bring your focus away from the staggering scale of the cosmos and let it settle softly into the quiet, familiar edges of your own room. As your breathing slows to a comfortable rhythm and your tired muscles sink deeply into the welcoming mattress, you can finally let go of the day's heavy gravity. You're perfectly safe here, and these boundless cosmic wonders are entirely yours to inherit as you drift into a deep, restorative sleep. Close your eyes and let your mind float backward through the silent currents of time, drifting smoothly toward the very first spark of this staggering dream. Bathing in the warm golden glow of a star viewed from 1 billion miles away, the origin of this colossal endeavour traces back to the mid-20th century. Bathing in the warm golden glow of a star viewed from 1 billion miles away, the origin of this colossal endeavour traces back to the mid-20th century. Freeman Dyson introduced this magnificent theoretical framework in 1960, challenging the boundaries of astronomical engineering and human imagination. He did not envision the suffocating, rigid cage that later gripped the public consciousness, but rather a profoundly graceful biosphere composed of countless independent orbiting structures. Deep within the vastness of the solar system, these individual habitats would dance in perfect, silent synchrony around their radiant host. This original vision prioritized the delicate balance of orbital mechanics over brute force cosmic masonry. Each structure was meant to capture a fragment of the starlight, weaving an intricate tapestry of life and energy across the void. If we were to look closer at his mathematical blueprints, the elegance of the swarm reveals a peaceful expansion into the cosmos. It was a proposal for harmony between advanced biology and raw stellar power, turning the harsh vacuum into a thriving, illuminated oasis. Surprisingly, the mathematical rigour of this celestial architecture was born from the boundless realm of early speculative fiction. Decades before the first blueprints were formally published in scientific journals, the seed of the idea was planted by the visionary author Olaf Stapledon. His sprawling, majestic 1937 novel Star Maker presented a cosmos teeming with ancient, unimaginably advanced intellects shaping the very heavens. Within the pages of this monumental work, vast empires constructed artificial webs of light and matter to harness the fading embers of their dying suns. This quiet inspiration bridged the gap between literary fantasy and hard astrophysics, proving that the human mind must first dream of the impossible before calculating its reality. The warm, golden glow of Stapledon's fictional galaxies illuminated a path for future physicists to follow. This cosmic structure, therefore, is a monument to the enduring power of human storytelling, woven into the fabric of the universe. It serves as a reminder that our most profound scientific leaps often begin as whispers in the dark, imagined under the faint light of distant constellations. Deep within the core of this monumental concept lies the sheer mathematical beauty of capturing a star's naturally escaping vitality. Every single second, our sun hurls an incomprehensible torrent of photons into the cold, indifferent vacuum of deep space. For billions of years, this warm, golden glow has radiated outward from a billion miles away, with only an infinitesimally small fraction ever touching a planetary surface. To construct a megastructure around this fusion engine is to finally catch the wind of creation itself. The elegance of the physics involved transforms the chaotic, violent furnace of a star into a calm, infinite wellspring of usable power. It is an act of cosmic frugality, ensuring that not a single erg of precious light is lost to the unending dark. Notice how the equations governing this capture do not demand the destruction of the stellar host, but rather its gentle, complete embrace. By placing collectors perfectly along the mathematical lines of radiant force, a civilization translates raw, untamed nature into the silent hum of eternal progress. In the quiet halls of mid-century academia, early scientific papers calmly outlined a future where humanity ascends beyond its terrestrial cradle. These visionary documents did not speak of galactic conquest, but instead envisioned the total capture of the sun's radiant output to fuel an unprecedented era of peace. The warm, golden glow of our local star, viewed from a billion miles away, was calculated to be the ultimate remedy for resource scarcity. With the boundless energy provided by a complete stellar harvest, the desperate terrestrial struggles for fuel and territory would instantly become obsolete. This profound abundance would allow a society to dedicate its entire focus to art, philosophy, and the peaceful exploration of the deeper cosmos. The sheer scale of power available would easily sustain trillions of lives without ever stripping another planet of its natural wealth. If we project this trajectory forward, the megastructure becomes far more than an engineering marvel. It becomes an instrument of universal harmony. It is the physical manifestation of a species finally maturing, choosing the gentle glow of infinite solar energy over the destructive fires of its primitive past. Almost immediately after the idea was introduced, eager stargazers and the general public fundamentally misunderstood the sheer scale and nature of the concept. The profound vision was quickly misinterpreted as a solid, unbroken sphere made of rigid metal, completely enclosing the host star in a dark planetary prison. This compelling but physically impossible image quickly took root, leading to decades of highly imaginative pop culture misrepresentations. Across countless novels, television screens, and cinematic landscapes, the megastructure was depicted as a colossal, hollow shell prone to catastrophic structural failure. The gravitational impossibilities of such a rigid cage were often ignored in favour of the dramatic, imposing visual of a star swallowed whole by machinery. Even today, the phrase conjures the image of a seamless metallic orb drifting silently through the galaxy. Picture the immense tensile strain that would instantly tear such a rigid shell apart, as the equatorial regions pull violently against the motionless poles. True orbital mechanics forbid such a static construct, yet the myth of the solid shell endures as a captivating testament to our desire to contain the infinite. To correct the enduring myths of popular fiction, the precise terminology utilised by modern astrophysicists completely discards the notion of a continuous solid shell. Instead, researchers and theoretical engineers strictly refer to this staggering celestial architecture as a Dyson swarm. This refined definition embraces the chaotic beauty of orbital dynamics, prioritizing flexibility and continuous motion over rigid, unyielding containment. Rather than a single, fragile, monolithic structure, The swarm is composed of billions of distinct autonomous elements gracefully sharing the same gravitational well. This modular approach ensures that the failure of a single solar collector or habitat does not threaten the integrity of the whole. It allows the warm golden glow of the central star to remain partially visible, filtering softly through the spaces between the shifting satellites. Constructing the architecture in this manner permits a civilization to build their masterpiece gradually over thousands of generations. The swarm is not a sudden, impossible cage, but a growing, living ecosystem of technology that adapts and evolves as the needs of its creators expand. Imagine a vast, shimmering cloud of independent satellites moving in perfectly choreographed, harmonious orbits through the silent vacuum. Each individual unit is an architectural marvel of highly reflective, ultra-thin materials designed to catch every stray, glittering photon emitted by the central furnace. From a billion miles away, this intricate dance resembles a localized snowstorm of mirrored glass, glowing with the warm, golden light of the captured star. The sheer density of these orbiting stations creates a dynamic, ever-shifting geometric pattern against the deep black canvas of space. As they trace their elliptical paths, they must constantly communicate and adjust, performing a flawless cosmic ballet to avoid catastrophic high-speed collisions. The swarm flows like a metallic river in the sky, silently absorbing the stellar wind and translating it into boundless clean energy. This continuous fluid motion is the true majesty of the celestial megastructure, a testament to absolute computational perfection and orbital mastery. It is a breathing, metallic organism that feeds purely on light, rendering the chaotic emissions of the sun into orderly sustaining power. The terrifying and beautiful scale of stellar energy output makes our most ambitious terrestrial power generation look like the flickering of a dying candle. Capturing just a tiny microscopic fraction of a star's daily radiant energy would effortlessly outpace the sum total of all fossil fuels ever burned in Earth's history. A mere sliver of this warm golden glow harvested from millions of miles away is enough to power a globally advanced civilization for millennia. When we burn ancient compressed forests to run our primitive machines, we're only unlocking a weak secondary echo of sunlight trapped in the dirt. To harvest the star directly is to bypass the planet entirely, drinking straight from the primary, inexhaustible wellspring of cosmic power. The energy collected in a single second by an established swarm could comfortably lift oceans, shatter small moons, or fuel a fleet of interstellar vessels. If we were to look closer at the sheer numbers, the transition from planetary resources to stellar harvesting marks the absolute end of scarcity. It is the dawn of an era where energy is no longer a finite treasure to be hoarded, but a background constant as abundant as the vacuum itself. These sprawling megastructures represent far more than just a triumph of structural engineering and applied theoretical physics. They mark the ultimate, profound culmination of a sentient species peacefully transitioning from fragile planetary dwellers to enduring stellar inhabitants. By stepping off the cradle of their birth world and directly embracing their sun, they free themselves from the unpredictable, violent whims of a single ecosystem. A civilization that masters the swarm no longer fears the slow death of a cooling planetary core or the devastating impact of wandering asteroids. They exist suspended in the warm, golden glow of their star, supported entirely by their own ingenuity and the flawless laws of orbital mechanics. Their home is no longer a sphere of rock and water, but the entire illuminated circumference of the inner solar system. This deliberate migration transforms a species from temporary passengers of the cosmos into permanent active architects of their own destiny. It is a serene, monumental shift in consciousness, recognizing that true safety and prosperity lie not on the ground, but in the boundless, energy-rich expanse above. Within the quiet, observational fields of modern astrobiology, the careful construction of such a sprawling marvel is viewed as the ultimate cosmic rite of passage. It is the definitive threshold where a young chaotic species finally matures into a stable, enduring presence within the galactic community. Achieving this level of structural mastery proves that a civilization has successfully navigated its most dangerous, self-destructive technological adolescence without perishing. To coordinate the resources, time, and absolute unity required for this celestial project, a society must first achieve global peace and profound, unbroken focus. The warm, golden glow of a completed swarm, viewed from 1 billion miles away, acts as a silent beacon of evolutionary success to the rest of the universe. It broadcasts a message of survival, patience, and the triumph of intellect over the chaotic forces of entropy. Ultimately, looking up at a star fully harnessed by its children is to witness the zenith of biological potential. It is the undeniable proof that life can rise from the mud, reach into the void, and gently tame the very fires that sparked its creation. To gently tame the very fires that sparked creation requires an architecture not of heavy stone, but of woven light and ethereal mathematics. The physical reality of this endeavour manifests as millions upon millions of independent, delicate solar collectors, each sailing gracefully through the dark vacuum of the inner system. Accompanied by the silent rhythmic passing of vast mirrored panels reflecting endless sunlight, the expanse of the void is fundamentally transformed into a meticulously choreographed theatre. If we were to look closer, the exposed surface of each individual collector is a masterclass in absolute minimalism, stripped of all unnecessary weight and bulk. They are gossamer-thin instruments of salvation, designed perfectly and solely to catch and redirect the pure radiant energy pouring outward from the stellar core. This entire swarm operates perpetually without the deafening roar of combustion engines, completing its endless, beautiful circuits in the meditative silence of deep space. Organizing this immense multitude of independent satellites requires a macrostructure far more complex than a simple, chaotic cloud of drifting debris. Instead, picture a painstakingly intricate web of shimmering satellites meticulously arranged into distinct, overlapping luminous bands, universally known among theorists as rings. These sweeping, majestic orbital highways are layered perfectly across the heavens to prevent any possibility of collisions while maximizing the exposure each panel has to the central furnace. Unlike the natural, chaotic ice ring surrounding a turbulent gas giant, these artificial bands are actively managed, purposefully shifting their formations as the civilization's energy demands fluctuate. The innermost tightly packed rings courageously absorb the most intense solar radiation, serving as the relentless heavy lifters of the energy harvesting network. As you move gracefully outward toward the fringes of the system, the bands become less densely populated, allowing the filtered, gentle starlight to pass smoothly through to the darker outer layers. This sweeping geometric perfection ensures that the star's immense daily output is not just captured blindly, but efficiently filtered and distributed with flawless grace across the planetary system. From a significant distance, these concentric halos would look exactly like the rippling rings of a dark, still pond disturbed by a single brilliant drop of concentrated light. It is an architecture of pure mathematical harmony, painting the vast canvas of local space with broad, confident strokes of blinding luminescence. A completely different, yet equally elegant architectural approach discards the rigid necessity for maintaining orbital momentum and high velocities entirely. Known affectionately as a bubble variation, this serene design relies entirely on incredibly thin, expansive solar sails pushed outward gently but firmly by the relentless pressure of starlight itself. Rather than circling the angry sun in a frantic race against gravity, these structures calmly surf on the constant outward flowing wind of highly energetic photons. As you rest here safely, feeling the steady, calming rhythm of your own breathing, imagine the profound serenity of a colossal structure that simply floats effortlessly on a bed of light. The impossibly wide sails must be forged from exotic materials exponentially lighter than a feather yet incredibly strong enough to permanently withstand the ceaseless bombardment of unfiltered stellar radiation. They are deployed mechanically like vast shimmering parachutes, blossoming widely in the deep vacuum and gracefully catching the invisible breeze of the cosmos. This unconventional technique creates a complete spherical envelope around the captured star that is held taut and stable solely by the radiant pressure constantly pushing against it. It is a profoundly peaceful method of energy extraction, requiring no chemical thrusters, no volatile fuel reserves, and no deeply complex orbital navigation to maintain its shape. The bubble simply expands naturally until it finds the exact equilibrium point, where the terrifying inward pull of gravity is beautifully negated by the gentle outward push of pure light. The brilliant engineering behind this hovering bubble relies on a very specific type of specialized craft, known formally to theoretical physicists as a static satellite. Unlike traditional orbiting objects that must constantly maintain a dizzyingly high velocity just to stay aloft, these extraordinary structures hover completely motionless relative to the churning star positioned far beneath them. By perfectly balancing the colossal pull of gravity with the gentle, constant pressure of light, they effortlessly achieve a state of permanent, unnatural suspension. This frozen, unwavering architecture creates a miraculously stable canopy over the entire inner solar system, an eternal artificial sky that never lazily shifts or quietly sets into the night. It is a staggering feat of physical equilibrium that demands completely flawless material density. If a single sail is too heavy, it inevitably falls into the fire, and if it is too light, it blows away into the dark. The resulting stillness of the completed array is both wonderfully eerie and profoundly beautiful, a vast fleet of silver kites permanently fixed against the distant starry backdrop. Such absolute stillness miraculously allows for the creation of incredibly stable communication networks and perfectly fixed points for deep, uninterrupted interstellar observation. These suspended structures become permanent beacons, their exact positions so endlessly reliable that entire planetary civilizations could confidently navigate their ships by their unmoving reflected light. They stand proudly as silent monuments to the ultimate mastery of raw cosmic forces, holding their ground forever against the overwhelming gravity of a massive star. While flexible, moving swarms and motionless bubbles represent the absolute pinnacle of elegant design, the enduring concept of a totally solid shell remains a haunting thought experiment. Our current understanding of fundamental physics strictly forbids the actual construction of such a rigid, unbroken sphere precisely due to the immense, completely incomprehensible tensile strength required to permanently hold it together. The exotic material necessary to physically forge a seamless cage around a living star does not exist anywhere in the natural universe, and perhaps mathematically never can. Any conventional forged alloy, no matter how impossibly thickly layered or highly refined, would almost immediately buckle and violently tear under the sheer stress of its own impossible weight. The vast equatorial regions of such a theoretical sphere would constantly experience centrifugal and gravitational forces so extreme that the very atomic bonds of the supermetal would simply snap. This inescapable reality renders the monolithic, unbroken shell a purely architectural fantasy, a brutalist dream that stubbornly ignores the unforgiving absolute laws of cosmic mechanics. Allow your tired muscles to sink even deeper into soft relaxation as you calmly realize the universe inherently favors adaptable flexibility over rigid, unbreakable barriers. The misguided attempt to put a hard, immovable box around a violently churning fusion reactor is a fundamentally flawed approach to advanced celestial engineering. True, lasting mastery of the cosmos is never found in building thicker walls, but in deeply understanding and smoothly flowing with the natural currents of gravity and light. Beyond the immediately fatal limits of physical tensile strength, the solid shell suffers from an even more terrifying flaw hidden quietly within the complex mathematics of gravity. Notice how the immense gravitational pull of the central star would naturally, inevitably, pull a rigid, hollow sphere into a highly unstable, ultimately deadly drift. Contrary to primitive terrestrial intuition, a massive hollow shell perfectly enclosing a star does not naturally center itself around the burning body trapped within its dark confines. This catastrophic drift perfectly highlights the inherent danger of violently fighting against the chaotic, constantly shifting nature of a living solar system. It definitively proves that attempting to physically cage and imprison a star is an agonizing exercise in utter futility that ultimately ends in spectacular failure for the builders. The universe strictly demands active, responsive harmony, rather than the dangerous illusion of static, unyielding control. A beautifully elegant compromise between the chaotic freedom of a swarm and the interconnected stability of a shell is found in the brilliant concept of the net. This stunning design proposes a highly flexible, gossamer framework of impossibly strong cables, flawlessly stringing together countless radiant energy collectors into a single unified body. It is effectively a celestial shimmering spiderweb spun purposefully across millions of miles, miraculously strong enough to hold its vast shape but flexible enough to effortlessly absorb the incredible stresses of orbital motion. This sprawling interconnected mesh naturally allows for the highly secure routing of physical resources, automated maintenance drones, and raw materials across the entire circumference of the captured star. It masterfully creates a vast physical grid where power and information can flow almost instantaneously through the thick physical tethers gracefully linking the countless nodes. The net can safely flex, bend, and momentarily deform in direct response to unexpected gravitational anomalies, distributing the immense stress perfectly evenly across the entire structure like a finely woven fabric. As your resting body remains totally still and comfortably heavy, imagine the profound safety of being gently held within such a massive, unbreakable web of trapped light and woven steel. The net beautifully captures all the incredible structural benefits of a unified megastructure while completely bypassing the fatal brittleness of a solid, unforgiving outer shell. It is the ultimate expression of cosmic resilience, a miraculous structure that bends infinitely so that it may absolutely never break. Nestled safely and comfortably within the protective embrace of this sweeping architecture, the ultimate purpose of the structure gracefully expands far beyond the mere utilitarian generation of electrical power. Countless orbiting habitats drifting slowly within the protective network could easily accommodate trillions of sentient beings in custom-built, impossibly lush and perfectly curated ecosystems. These massive, slowly spinning metallic cylinders would reliably provide synthesized Earth-like gravity and eternal warm daylight, miraculously creating true paradise worlds out of cold, floating steel. Inside these incredibly vast hollow drums, entire sprawling continents could be fully terraformed from scratch, complete with soaring snow-capped mountain ranges, incredibly deep freshwater oceans, and dense, thriving ancient forests. Because the internal environment is completely physically detached from the dangerous weather patterns of a natural planet, the climate within every single habitat can be meticulously controlled. One specific node in the vast net might permanently house a perpetual warm tropical summer, while its nearest neighbour strictly maintains the crisp, breathtaking beauty of an eternal snowy winter. The sheer, incomprehensible scale of such limitless living space permanently renders the very concept of planetary overpopulation entirely obsolete, permanently opening up boundless safe frontiers for unlimited biological expansion. Each enclosed habitat quickly becomes a highly unique cultural and ecological sanctuary, floating peacefully in the continuous silent rhythm of the endless solar harvest. It is a profound transition from living precariously on the vulnerable surface of a spinning rock to residing permanently within the meticulously curated gardens of the heavens. With so much boundless energy being silently harvested across billions of miles of empty space, The primary logistical challenge quickly becomes how to safely transport that staggering power without laying physical wires. The brilliant solution lies deep in the elegant physics of highly efficient wireless energy transfer, successfully creating a silent, completely invisible, and flawless network of rapid power distribution. Every single individual mirror in the sprawling swarm would flawlessly beam its freshly harvested energy directly back to massive central distribution hubs using tightly focused, invisible streams of microwaves. These intense beams of concentrated power would silently intersect the unending darkness, remaining completely harmless and utterly undetectable as they pass cleanly through the empty vacuum of space. The heavily fortified receiving hubs would effortlessly catch these precisely targeted transmissions, stepping down the intense frequencies and flawlessly converting the raw microwaves into highly usable electricity for the floating habitats. This wireless, incredibly robust grid securely ensures that even the most isolated outposts located on the very edge of the swarm receive a constant, unwavering supply of life-giving power. It is a miraculous infrastructure entirely devoid of any physical friction, a completely silent exchange of pure energy that leaves no footprint and wastes not a single precious drop of heat. The intricate intersecting geometry of these overlapping beams perfectly creates an invisible, pulsating nervous system that intimately connects every single isolated facet of the colossal megastructure. It safely binds the disparate floating pieces into a single unified organism that breathes the pure light of the sun and gently exhales the vital fuel of an entire civilization. When finally completed after millennia of automated labour, the ultimate manifestation of this engineering marvel fundamentally transforms the very nature of the night sky for anyone observing from afar. The sheer visual majesty of a mature, fully operational network would closely resemble a slowly turning, impossibly massive, glittering gemstone entirely encompassing the burning heart of a trapped sun. The harsh, blinding glare of the raw star is beautifully softened, safely filtered through billions of prismatic mirrors, miraculously turning a violent furnace into a steady beacon of highly structured beauty. As the billions of internal moving components gracefully orbit and constantly overlap, the vast light emitted by the system would gently, rhythmically pulse and shift, creating a deeply mesmerizing artificial dimming effect. It would no longer look like a wild, untamed point of burning gas in the dark, but rather a highly deliberate glowing artifact resting gently in the palm of the cosmos. The subtle, invisible infrared warmth radiating steadily from the outer, cooler shells would gently bathe the surrounding dark system in a soft, deeply comforting aura of artificial heat. To quietly witness such a breathtaking spectacle through a telescope is to look directly upon the final perfected canvas of an ascended, peaceful species that has fully claimed its permanent place in the universe. The silent, deeply rhythmic passing of vast mirrored panels perfectly reflecting endless sunlight proudly stands as an eternal, unbreakable monument to the triumph of absolute order, infinite patience, and boundless, beautiful ambition. To manifest such boundless, beautiful ambition requires a fuel source that utterly dwarfs the primitive fires of a terrestrial world. Accompanied by the low, invisible hum of boundless energy flowing smoothly through a vast network, the sheer scale of stellar output becomes the new baseline for civilization. Every single tick of the cosmic clock releases a staggering cascade of raw, unfiltered vitality. Surprisingly, the local star generously produces enough radiant power in a single fleeting moment to sustain the entirety of modern human progress for 500,000 years. When we gaze up at the daytime sky, we are unknowingly bathing in an energetic torrent that could effortlessly solve every earthly crisis. This astonishing reality renders our desperate terrestrial struggles for finite fossil fuels almost tragically absurd. Deep within the churning core of the star, hydrogen atoms fuse in a violent, continuous dance that generates this incomprehensible wealth. Capturing even a microscopic fraction of this temporal outpouring permanently shifts a species from a state of anxious survival to one of eternal prosperity. It is a profound awakening to the limitless inheritance that patiently waits just beyond the protective veil of the atmosphere. To effectively catch this unimaginable daily deluge, the physical footprint of the harvesting network must expand to an entirely new order of magnitude. Capturing the total spherical output of the Sun demands a serene array boasting a collective surface area hundreds of millions of times larger than our home world. It is an expansion that forces the conscious mind to stretch far beyond the familiar, comforting horizons of oceans and continents. Picture a sprawling patchwork of pristine collection panels, unspooling across the endless dark, completely dwarfing the very planets that share their orbital plane. The sheer breadth of this manufactured landscape would be entirely impossible to comprehend from any single, localized vantage point. If a traveller were to fly across its radiant face, entire lifetimes would pass before they even glimpsed the outermost edge. Moving this gathered wealth across the sweeping gulfs of interplanetary space requires an entirely different method of logistics than the localized transfers of the inner rings. Highly concentrated lasers could be uniquely utilized to safely and quietly shoot unbroken streams of pure power over the most extreme cosmic distances. These perfectly coherent beams of light act as razor-thin artificial arteries pulsing with the lifeblood of the stellar harvest. If we were to look closer at these silent transmissions, they would appear as faint, impossibly straight threads of coloured illumination piercing the absolute dark. Unlike the broad, diffuse nature of shorter wave radiation, a specialised photonic beam can travel millions of miles without losing its intense pinpoint focus. This extraordinary precision allows distant mining outposts or remote outer system habitats to sip directly and efficiently from the central furnace. The intricate geometry of these intersecting laser pathways forms a breathtakingly complex optical web across the quiet void. Ships passing between the habitats would carefully navigate around these blazing silent rivers of energy, treating them as fixed, reliable cosmic landmarks. It is a deeply poetic solution, using highly disciplined streams of concentrated light to transport the chaotic, untamed fire of the central star. Before the energy can be beamed into the deep void, it must first be smoothly channeled through the physical veins of the massive orbital arrays themselves. Advanced superconducting materials would play an absolutely vital role in seamlessly moving the staggering current without losing a single drop of heat to electrical resistance. These exotic, frictionless conduits would operate flawlessly in the freezing ambient temperatures of the shaded, outward-facing structure. Traditional metallic wires, no matter how thickly forged, would instantly melt into useless boiling slag under the sheer, incomprehensible amperage of a harnessed star. A superconductor, however, elegantly ignores the limiting friction that plagues primitive terrestrial electronics, allowing the immense current to flow eternally. The energy glides through these chilled pathways like a silent ghost, perfectly preserving every precious ounce of the harvested power. Notice how the deep, freezing cold of the vacuum, often viewed by early explorers as a hostile adversary, is masterfully repurposed here as an essential engineering ally. By keeping the shaded transit lines permanently submerged in cosmic frost, the civilization maintains a state of perfect, lossless electrical flow. It is a stunning display of utilizing the natural extreme environment of space to easily achieve a state of pure technological grace. With the crippling limitations of energy scarcity completely removed from the equation, the most elusive and powerful physics on the periodic table finally become tamed. The delicate, incredibly resource-heavy process of antimatter production could finally transition into a completely routine, perfectly safe industrial endeavour. What was once the most unbelievably expensive and dangerous substance in the known universe becomes a standard, mass-produced commodity. Feel the slow, even rhythm of your heart beating in your chest, mirroring the steady, relentless pulse of this newly unlocked cosmic factory. Massive automated particle accelerators, powered directly by the sun, could peacefully churn out magnetic containment vessels filled to the brim with this volatile mirror matter. This ultra-dense fuel provides an incredibly compact battery, perfectly allowing the vast energy of the swarm to be physically carried far away from the network. The ability to easily manufacture such a potent, concentrated fuel entirely reshapes the absolute boundaries of deep space exploration and heavy industrial expansion. A civilization wielding bottled antimatter could effortlessly carve out new moons, ignite dormant planetary cores, or power localized miracles on the dark fringes of their empire. It represents the ultimate alchemy, cleanly transmuting the abundant, fleeting light of a star into the heaviest, most potent physical energy known to exist. This staggering surplus naturally bleeds outward, fundamentally altering the destiny of any remaining natural worlds sharing the stellar neighborhood. Imagine entire terrestrial planets and distant swirling gas giants running smoothly and effortlessly on the sheer, overflowing abundance of this celestial harvest. The desperate need for violent planetary extraction, deep core mining, and choking atmospheric pollution is instantly and permanently eradicated. A world once scarred by the toxic fumes of primitive industrial progress could be entirely healed and meticulously restored to a pristine, garden-like state. With their endless power, needs met entirely from the silent, invisible hum of the network above, planetary inhabitants could fully surrender their world back to nature. Cities would no longer need to violently consume the earth. They would simply drink safely and quietly from the glowing sky. This transition marks the peaceful twilight of the destructive industrial age and the bright dawn of a deeply symbiotic relationship with the local cosmos. The planets themselves gracefully become serene, curated parks and historical preserves, entirely free from the scarring, deafening machinery of survival. It is the absolute highest form of environmental stewardship, achieved only by looking upward and permanently harnessing the ultimate source of life. The sheer physics of capturing light in this environment reveals precisely why attempting to power a planetary civilization from the ground is inherently flawed. The raw efficiency of pristine, unobstructed collection panels operating in the clear vacuum of space completely dwarfs anything possible beneath a churning, cloudy atmosphere. Down on the surface, the life-giving light is inevitably scattered, heavily absorbed and wildly distorted by thick layers of shifting gas and unpredictable weather patterns. Take a slow, deep breath, enjoying the easy flow of air, and recognize how that same atmosphere acts as a heavy blanket dimming the sky above you. By placing the massive collectors high above this turbulent, muddy veil, a species bypasses the atmospheric filter entirely, drinking the starlight in its most potent form. It is the perfectly logical conclusion of solar technology, moving the thirsty roots of civilization directly to the untainted, blazing source of the river. Despite the miraculous efficiency of these frictionless superconductors and pristine optical arrays, the absolute laws of thermodynamics can never be completely outsmarted or ignored. Some small fraction of this astronomical harvest would inevitably be shed as gentle, radiating heat, glowing softly into the surrounding darkness in the infrared spectrum. This subtle thermal exhaust is the unavoidable consequence of doing heavy cosmic work, the quiet physical sigh of an unimaginably vast machine operating at peak capacity. If viewed through highly specialized sensors tuned to these specific wavelengths, the entire megastructure would not appear as a harsh white light, but as a deep, smouldering ember. It paints the otherwise freezing, empty canvas of the inner system with a deeply comforting artificial warmth that permeates the deep vacuum. This gentle radiating glow is the distinct, undeniable fingerprint of advanced life steadily and peacefully reshaping its immediate local environment. Far from being a wasteful engineering failure, this soft ambient heat provides a deeply comfortable, life-sustaining baseline temperature for the myriad floating habitats nestled within. It permanently transforms the deadly, absolute zero of deep space into a mild, heavily managed cosmic greenhouse for the trillions of inhabitants. The inevitable waste of the stellar engine beautifully becomes the very climate of the paradise it flawlessly supports. As the immediate localized needs of the population are effortlessly met, the ambition of such an advanced culture naturally turns outward toward the great unknown. They might utilize this overflowing reservoir of power not just for immense daily comfort, but to construct and permanently power illuminated interstellar propulsion highways. These magnificent glowing corridors would safely connect to neighbouring star systems, carving bright, highly navigable channels through the treacherous deep dark. Massive stationary laser batteries anchored securely to the home swarm could continuously fire behind departing exploration vessels, pushing their incredibly thin reflective sails to near-light speeds. This brilliant application of raw energy allows for rapid, reliable transit across the terrifyingly empty light years that coldly separate the galactic islands. The harnessed star essentially becomes a colossal stationary engine, physically pushing its children outward into the wider waiting galaxy. Let your shoulders drop and your jaw relax as you visualize these brilliant, silent highways stretching out like golden threads into the pitch-black infinity. Travel between the stars is no longer a desperate, lonely voyage into the dark, but a highly managed, peaceful commute along a brightly lit avenue. The captured light of the home sun stretches out across the eons, gently guiding and pushing the voyagers safely toward their distant destinations. Ultimately, this vast, silent network of captured light and woven metal represents the total, peaceful subjugation of the most chaotic entity in the known universe. The monumental act of harnessing a star fundamentally transforms the wild, utterly unpredictable forces of raw nature into a deeply controlled, reliable asset. The furious, raging engine of nuclear fusion is gently tamed, its terrifying wrath beautifully converted into a calm, steady flow of boundless potential. This steady, uninterrupted flow of power acts as the literal mechanical pulse for trillions of interconnected lives drifting comfortably through the void. It is the rhythmic, artificial heartbeat of an ascended civilization, flawlessly dictating the quiet, peaceful flow of culture, industry, and boundless exploration. No longer fragile victims of unpredictable solar flares or natural celestial whims, the architects permanently dictate the absolute terms of their own cosmic environment. To live endlessly within the protective embrace of this low, invisible hum is to know a level of existential security that primitive ancestors could only ascribe to the divine. The cosmos is no longer a hostile, uncaring wilderness, but a meticulously tuned instrument played softly and endlessly by the hands of its inhabitants. It is the profound, quiet realization that the universe, once deeply feared, has finally become a welcoming, eternal home. The welcome realization of this eternal home begins with a sense of familiar comfort regarding its celestial placement within the void. A typical Dyson swarm built around our local sun would not crowd the fire, but would instead drift at roughly the same comfortable distance where the Earth currently resides. This strategic placement ensures that the energy collected is neither too intense nor too sparse, mimicking the gentle, consistent warmth of a perfect spring afternoon across billions of miles of empty space. Deep within this orbital band, the structure occupies the ancestral Goldilocks zone, finding the perfect equilibrium between the crushing heat of the inner sanctum and the freezing shadows of the outer planets. It is a placement that honours the biological origins of the builders, anchoring their grandest achievement in the same thermal cradle that nurtured their earliest ancestors. Notice how this distance allows for the preservation of existing planetary environments, while slowly weaving a new, artificial layer of protection across the heavens. This distance creates a vast, invisible boundary that feels less like a wall and more like a gentle, warming embrace for everything held within its reach. Surprisingly, the sheer mass required to weave this golden shroud necessitates the quiet sacrifice of the system's uninhabited monuments. Constructing such a vast, all-encompassing array would require the systematic dismantling of dead worlds, asteroid belts, and barren moons to recycle their primordial raw materials into a more useful form. Automated harvesters would gently and slowly unmake these cold, airless rocks through molecular disassembly, transmuting their ancient minerals into the refined, high-tech components of the stellar network. This process represents the ultimate form of cosmic upcycling, where the dormant matter of 1 billion years is finally given a purpose and a voice within the machinery of life. If we were to look closer at the ethics of this expansion, we would find a civilization choosing to utilize the silent, empty husks of the solar system, rather than disturbing any thriving biodiverse oasis. It is a peaceful reallocation of mass, turning the static debris of the past into the dynamic, functioning infrastructure of an infinite future. Each planet dismantled is not a loss of history, but a conversion of cold rock into a living, breathing landscape of light and energy. The dizzying, awe-inspiring feeling of looking out at an edge that curves into an infinite horizon stems from the sheer, unfathomable volume contained within this sphere. This structure creates a sheltered environment so immense it could comfortably house the equivalent of 1 billion Earth-sized worlds within its protective, glowing borders. It is a scale that renders traditional maps and planetary thinking entirely obsolete, offering a frontier that never truly ends for those within. Deep within this internal void, a civilization could build and abandon entire continents and still possess an abundance of untouched space for millions of years of growth. Every individual facet of the swarm looks out over a gulf so large that the curvature of the structure is nearly imperceptible, appearing as a straight line stretching into eternity. It is the ultimate insurance against the limits of growth, a cathedral of light so expansive that the concept of a crowded world is forgotten forever. This internal volume is a sea of possibility, where the only limit is the imagination of the architects who call it home. To truly grasp the magnitude of this achievement, one must consider the time it takes for even light itself to traverse the manufactured expanse. Travelling from one side of the completed structure to the exact opposite point at the absolute speed of light would still take a peaceful, unhurried 16 minutes. This span of time, though short in cosmic terms, highlights a scale that dwarfs any planetary geography known to the human experience. In the time it takes for a beam of light to cross this internal sky, a person could sit quietly and finish a cup of tea or watch a short, artificial sunset. This 16-minute diameter represents the literal boundaries of a solar-sized home, a space large enough to contain the history of 1,000 worlds within a single morning's commute. It is a breathtaking realization that the home we have built is measured not in miles or kilometers, but in the patient, steady travel of photons across the void. Standing at one edge, the other side is not just far away, it is a piece of the past, 16 minutes removed from your current moment. No biological workforce could ever hope to complete a task of such staggering proportions, necessitating a reliance on the tireless patience of the machine. A civilization embarking on this journey would gently release a small fleet of automated, self-replicating probes into the void to slowly finish the job over the coming millennia. These silent ambassadors of industry are programmed with the fundamental blueprint of the swarm, capable of finding their own materials and birthing their own successors. They work with a steady, unblinking focus that ignores the passage of centuries, seeing the project through to its distant, glorious conclusion. Deep within their silicon minds is a directive of absolute peace, ensuring that their expansion remains a graceful, organized bloom rather than a chaotic, viral spread. This hands-off approach allows the creators to relax and watch as their legacy is built by the quiet, diligent hands of their mechanical children. Over generations, these probes become a silent heritage, a tireless army of architects weaving a future for a species they will never truly know. Picture a quiet, automated foundry floating in the deep shadow of an asteroid, a lonely factory that does nothing but build identical copies of itself. This elegant, recursive process triggers a slow, geometric blooming of construction that eventually marches across the entire dark reach of the system. One foundry becomes 2, then 4, and eventually millions, each one contributing its unique part to the emerging tapestry of the stellar shroud. These factories operate with a low mechanical hum that never tires, converting the frozen dust of the solar system into the gleaming panels of the solar harvest. Surprisingly, the entire process requires very little direct oversight from the biological residents, who remain safe and comfortable within their completed sections of the grid. As the construction front moves outward, it leaves behind a wake of pristine technology, turning the messy debris of the cosmos into a polished, functioning masterpiece of light and logic. Each new foundry is a heartbeat of progress, a rhythmic pulse of expansion that slowly fills the emptiness with the promise of eternal warmth. This grand undertaking is not a sprint toward completion, but a marathon of infinite, relaxing patience that stretches across the deep eons. The timeline for completing a full, matured sphere could range anywhere from a few thousand to several million patient years of continuous, steady work. Such a duration is so vast that entire civilizations could rise, flourish, and evolve significantly while the construction continues its steady, rhythmic progress in the background. This slow pace is a deliberate choice, reflecting a society that has outgrown the frantic, short-term anxieties of its primitive ancestors. They view the building of the swarm as an ongoing conversation with time itself, a project that is never truly finished because it is always growing and adapting. Notice how your own resting body finds a natural rhythm in this slow-motion history, letting go of the need for immediate results in favour of an enduring eternal legacy. It is a work of geological time, a mountain of technology built one grain at a time until it finally reaches the stars themselves. Even in its early stages of development, the presence of the megastructure would gently announce itself to any distant, curious observers looking in from the interstellar dark. A partially completed swarm would beautifully dim and alter the visible brightness of the host star, causing it to flicker or fade in a way that suggests a highly organized artificial presence. These subtle dips in luminosity act as a cosmic lighthouse, signaling to the wider galaxy that an intelligent, peaceful life form has claimed its place among the stars. To an astronomer thousands of light years away, the star might appear to be performing a slow, deliberate dance of changing magnitudes as the mirrors pass before its face. This transformation of the star's light is not a loss of brilliance, but a refinement of it, turning a wild furnace into a structured, rhythmic signal of architectural triumph. It is a way for the civilization to leave a quiet, glowing mark upon the galaxy without ever making a sound or causing any harm to the neighbours. This interstellar signature is a handshake across the void, a testament to the fact that someone, somewhere, has mastered the light. For the fortunate species living within the completed embrace of the swarm, the very concept of a dark, lonely night sky is eventually replaced by something far more comforting. Instead of looking up at the cold, distant pinpricks of unrelated stars, residents gaze upon the soft, inviting glow of neighbouring habitats and shimmering energy collectors. The sky becomes a localised map of their own thriving civilization, a ceiling of friendly lights that reflect the warmth and activity of their shared home. This new celestial vista creates a sense of profound interconnectedness, where the lights in the sky are not unreachable mysteries but the windows and gardens of friends and neighbours. The dizzying, awe-inspiring feeling of looking out at an edge that curves into an infinite horizon is balanced by the intimate knowledge that the light you see is the light of your own people. It is the final, perfect transition from being a small visitor in a massive, indifferent universe to being the cherished inhabitant of a warm, artificial and eternal sky. Looking upward is no longer an act of questioning, but an act of belonging to a cosmic neighbourhood that never sleeps and never fades. Belonging to a cosmic neighbourhood that never fades requires a structural integrity that can withstand the infinite silent pull of the stars themselves. To achieve this, the architects must look toward the absolute limits of molecular engineering, employing materials that current physics considers the most delicate yet resilient in existence. Carbon nanotubes and graphene are presently the only known materials theoretically strong enough to weave the structure's incredibly delicate high-tension tethers. These materials are not merely strong, they are nearly frictionless, and possess an atomic arrangement that allows them to endure the constant, unforgiving bombardment of solar radiation and gravitational stress. Woven into gossamer-thin cables, they provide the necessary backbone to hold independent collectors in their precise, centuries-long orbits without succumbing to the fatigue of the void. This structural choice ensures that the Great Swarm remains a light, flexible web rather than a brittle, failing cage. If we were to look closer at the molecular lattice of these tethers, we would see a perfect hexagonal geometry that mimics the very patterns found in the birth of the universe. Every thread is a masterpiece of precision, designed to carry the immense weight of civilization's dreams without ever snapping. It is the invisible thread that binds the light of the sun to the destiny of those who would capture it. Deep within the inner sanctum of the solar system, the scorched and silent world of Mercury offers the ideal foundation for the first phase of this monumental construction. This airless planet, often overlooked by early explorers, possesses a massive metallic core that provides an almost inexhaustible supply of the heavy elements required for orbital engineering. Its convenient proximity to the sun's warm embrace makes it the perfect logistical hub, allowing raw materials to be launched into orbit with minimal energy expenditure. The intense solar energy available at this distance means that the manufacturing foundries located on Mercury's surface would never hunger for the power needed to refine and process billions of tons of rock. It serves as a natural shipyard, a dormant giant whose very bones will be repurposed to create the first shimmering rings of the stellar shroud. By utilising this local resource, the architects avoid the prohibitive costs of hauling materials across the vast, empty gulfs from the outer planets. Notice how the transformation of this lonely, sun-baked world represents the first major step in turning the solar system into a functional, integrated machine. Mercury ceases to be a barren wasteland, and instead becomes the heart of a new, radiant industry that will eventually span the heavens. It is a sacrifice of a single, dead world to ensure the eternal life and prosperity of an entire enlightened species. Surprisingly, the growth of this cosmic structure does not depend on human hands, but on the silent, tireless labour of automated mining drones. These mechanical harvesters descend upon barren, uninhabited asteroids with surgical precision, systematically stripping them of their ancient minerals. They do not merely mine, they disassemble, breaking down the cold, drifting rocks into their fundamental base elements to prepare them for the forge. In the vast quiet of the belt, the only sound is the nearly imperceptible hum of molecular cutters as they reshape the history of the system. These drones are the invisible gardeners of the vacuum, clearing the weeds of the solar system to make room for a forest of light. Their work is the silent engine of progress, moving with a rhythm that mirrors the slow, steady expansion of life itself. This structure is refined further in the heart of specialized manufacturing hubs, where atomic-scale 3D printers quietly weave structural beams atom by single atom. These printers operate at a level of precision that renders traditional manufacturing completely obsolete, creating components that are entirely free of structural defects. By placing every individual atom in its perfect designated position, they produce materials with properties that seem almost miraculous to our primitive understanding. These automated artisans work in the absolute stillness of the vacuum, building the intricate lattices that will eventually support the weight of trillions. The beams they produce are not just strong, they are works of mathematical art, designed to maximize durability while minimizing the mass required. This atomic weaving allows the swarm to be both incredibly vast and surprisingly light, a gossamer web of steel and carbon. Looking closer at the surface of these components, you would see a texture as smooth as polished ice, reflecting the unblinking stars in its flawless face. There are no seams, no joints, and no weak points in this construction, only a continuous flow of perfectly arranged matter. As you lie perfectly still, feeling the cool, steady air around you, consider the immense strength of these invisible alloys holding the sky in place. If we were to look closer at the internal composition of the swarm, we would find that iron and nickel form the flexible, enduring skeletal backbone of every individual facet. These metals, found in abundance throughout the asteroid belt, provide the structural resilience needed to withstand the constant shifting of orbital paths. They are the hidden strength of the megastructure, allowing it to flex and sway without ever losing its fundamental shape. While the skeleton provides the strength, rare earth elements are used to smoothly coat the energy-gathering surfaces with a layer of hyperconductive material. These precious minerals are applied with molecular precision, ensuring that every photon that strikes the collector is converted into usable energy with near-perfect efficiency. This combination of common strength and rare refinement is what allows the swarm to function as a unified, high-performance organism. This marriage of materials represents a deep understanding of the resources provided by the cosmos, using the simple and the complex in perfect harmony. The backbone holds the line, while the surface drinks the light, creating a cycle of power that sustains everything within. It is a testament to the idea that nothing in the universe is truly waste if one has the wisdom to know its worth. In the silence of the outer reaches, silicon is gently harvested from the surfaces of pulverized, airless moons to create the next layer of the cosmic architecture. This mineral is refined through intense solar heat into vast, transparent expanses of ultra-thin photovoltaic glass, designed to be as light as a whisper, yet as durable as diamond. These glass panels serve as the primary skin of the collectors, shielding the delicate internal electronics from the harsh environment of space. The process of pulverizing a moon is conducted with an almost ritualistic slowness, ensuring that no debris escapes into the dangerous orbital paths of the habitats. What was once a cold, grey orb in the night sky is transformed into a shimmering, translucent veil that blankets the sun. This new glass is so clear that it appears nearly invisible to the naked eye, a ghost-like material that exists only to capture the brilliance of the fire. If we were to fly alongside one of these glass sheets, we would see the entire galaxy reflected in its surface, a double image of the stars captured in a manufactured lens. It is a bridge between the physical and the ethereal, a solid material that feels as if it were made of light itself. This transformation turns the dead, reflective dust of the past into the active, energy-generating surfaces of the future. Refining materials in the absence of gravity allows for a serene perfection of manufacturing that is entirely impossible on the surface of a planet. In the zero-gravity foundries of the swarm, alloys can be mixed and cooled with absolute uniformity, preventing the heavy elements from settling or the light elements from rising. This results in the creation of utterly flawless materials that possess a structural purity never before seen in human history. Notice how the absence of weight removes the primary stressor from the manufacturing process, allowing for the creation of incredibly long and delicate components. Beams that would collapse under their own weight on Earth can stretch for miles in the void, maintaining their perfect alignment without the need for heavy supports. This weightless environment is the secret forge of the gods, a place where the laws of physics are manipulated to create the impossible. To achieve this level of perfection, the foundries must remain in constant quiet motion, orbiting the sun in a state of perpetual freefall. Every component birthed in these halls is a child of the vacuum, built to exist in a world where up and down have no meaning. This environment allows for an elegance of design that mirrors the smooth, frictionless nature of the cosmos itself. Beyond the inner rings, the distant gas giants are carefully skimmed for their precious hydrogen to fuel the gentle thrusters that guide the raw materials into place. These massive planets serve as the fueling stations of the system, their deep, swirling atmospheres providing an inexhaustible supply of propellant. Specialized skimming vessels descend into the upper clouds, gathering the gas in a slow, rhythmic process that resembles a quiet breath taken from the heart of a storm. This hydrogen is then refined and distributed throughout the construction front, powering the small, precise movements required to align trillions of components. Without this constant, gentle guidance, the raw materials would drift aimlessly into the dark, lost to the unforgiving currents of gravity. The gas giants, once thought of as unreachable monsters, become the quiet providers of the momentum that builds the future. This process is conducted with such care that the natural beauty of the gas giants remains entirely undisturbed, their majestic stripes and spots continuing their eternal dance. It is a peaceful extraction, taking only what is needed to ensure the smooth progress of the grand design. The energy of the outer system is thus used to build the heart of the inner system, connecting the entire family of planets in a single, unified purpose. Managing the sheer mass of these resources requires silent, cool computational power operating on a planetary scale to orchestrate every gram of material. Deep within the shaded hulls of the manufacturing hubs, massive arrays of processors work in the absolute zero of space, calculating the trajectories of 1 billion moving parts. This planetary intelligence is the mind of the swarm, a quiet, unblinking awareness that ensures the entire project moves as a single, coordinated entity. Resting here in the quiet, let the idea of this planetary intelligence settle comfortably into your mind. A vast and peaceful network thinking on a scale of centuries. It tracks every mining drone, every 3D printer, and every drifting panel with a precision that defies human comprehension. This intelligence does not rule, it coordinates, turning the potential chaos of 1 billion independent actors into a beautiful rhythmic symphony of construction. This digital architect is the final component of the materials of the gods, the logic that binds the metal and the light into a functioning whole. It is a mind born of the sun's energy, dedicated entirely to the preservation and expansion of the life that created it. Without this silent, cool thinking, the swarm would be nothing but a cloud of dust. With it, it is a living monument to the power of reason. The final transformation of dead, drifting space rock into a highly intricate and responsive machine represents a peaceful triumph of order over cosmic chaos. What was once a collection of random, violent impacts and cold, airless voids has been reorganized into a structure of profound purpose and beauty. Every mirror, every beam, and every habitat is a testament to the idea that the universe can be made a home through the application of wisdom and patience. This is not a conquest of nature, but a refinement of it, taking the raw ingredients of the stars and weaving them into a tapestry of life. The materials of the gods are simply the materials of the universe, reorganized by a hand that has learned to move in harmony with the laws of creation. In this new world, the destructive forces of the past have been tamed and repurposed to fuel an eternal golden age of discovery. As the last panel clicks into place and the first full circuit of energy is completed, the chaos of the old world finally fades into the background. The solar system is no longer a collection of isolated islands, but a single, integrated masterpiece of light and logic. This transformation is the ultimate expression of our belonging to the stars, a journey that begins with a single rock and ends with the mastery of the heavens. Mastery of the heavens finds its most intimate expression in the creation of the O'Neill cylinder, a massive vessel designed to mimic the weight of a home planet. These colossal hollow drums are seamlessly incorporated into the wider stellar network, where they float in the silent vacuum like silver cocoons of life. By initiating a gentle and constant rotation, The internal surface of the cylinder generates a centripetal force that perfectly simulates the familiar pull of gravity. Within this spinning world, the floor is the very wall of the ship, curving upward until it meets itself high above in a distant zenith. Residents move with the same ease they once felt on solid ground, their bodies supported by a physics of rotation that feels entirely natural. This simulated embrace ensures that the biological needs of the inhabitants are met with precision, preventing the wasting effects of long-term weightlessness. It is a triumph of engineering that prioritizes the comfort of the soul as much as the survival of the species. Every revolution of the habitat is a silent promise of stability, a rhythmic heartbeat of a world that never stops turning. Here, the vast, cold indifference of the void is replaced by the steady, reliable pull of a manufactured home. This structure allows for a staggering diversity of existence, where every individual habitat can host a completely different climate, tailored to the whims of its creators. One might step through a transit lock and find themselves immersed in the heavy, humid air of a dense tropical rainforest, alive with the sound of falling water. Nearby, a sister cylinder might maintain the crisp, biting air of a serene snowy tundra, where the light reflects off pristine frozen plains. The scent of fresh pine trees growing inside a spinning cylinder, floating silently in the vacuum, greets those visiting the temperate sectors. These sanctuaries are curated to preserve the sensory memories of a world left behind, offering a deep connection to the organic past. Diverse ecological niches are compressed into these metallic vessels, allowing life to flourish in forms that were once restricted to specific latitudes. Every ecosystem is a closed, perfect loop where the balance of life is maintained through the harmonious interaction of biology and technology. The architects of the swarm act as benevolent deities, ensuring that every leaf and every snowflake exists in a state of curated perfection. It is a mosaic of biomes, a collection of living treasures drifting in the dark. If we were to look closer at the internal horizons of these worlds, the very concept of day and night would be revealed as a matter of calculated preference. Unlike a planet tied to the rigid rhythm of its rotation, a habitat in the swarm is governed by massive, sweeping mechanical shutters. These elegant panels can be adjusted to admit the star's radiant energy in any sequence desired, creating custom cycles of light and shadow for the inhabitants within. A society might choose a traditional cycle, or they might opt for an eternal afternoon that stretches on for decades. The transition from light to dark is not a violent sunset, but a graceful closing of the sky, orchestrated with a precision that honours the sleep of trillions. When the shutters are drawn, the internal world is bathed in a soft glow, allowing the inhabitants to rest in a peaceful twilight. This control transforms the nature of time itself, making it a tool for comfort rather than a master. The sky is no longer a window to a distant furnace, but a dynamic canvas that reflects the needs of the living. It is a profound liberation from the celestial clockwork, granting every community the power to define their own seasons. Surprisingly, the unpredictable weather patterns of a planetary atmosphere are replaced here by a system of perfectly regulated climate control. Within these floating worlds, every breeze, every drop of rain, and every degree of temperature is meticulously calculated to ensure the safety of the residents. The terrifying threat of hurricanes, droughts, or sudden freezes is permanently eradicated, replaced by the unwavering security of an eternal, manufactured spring. As you rest here now, let the idea of this environmental stability soothe your tired muscles and calm your mind. Feel the tension leaving your shoulders as you imagine a world where the air is always fresh and the sky never threatens harm. In this tailored oasis, the environment is a servant to life, providing a consistent, nourishing backdrop for the flourishment of art and thought. Every habitat acts as a sealed greenhouse, protected from the harsh radiation and freezing temperatures of the outer vacuum by its thick hull. The weather is a gentle, rhythmic cycle of renewal, designed to keep the landscapes lush and the inhabitants vibrant. It is the ultimate expression of stewardship, a world where the chaos of nature has been distilled into a state of relaxing harmony. A traveller can look out from a panoramic viewing port and watch the shimmering facets of the swarm pass by like distant glowing islands. The experience of movement is effortless, a graceful slide through the dark that feels more like drifting than high-speed transportation. These railways are the silver threads that bind the diverse cultures of the swarm together, ensuring that no habitat is ever truly isolated. It is a system built on absolute efficiency and minimal disturbance to the surrounding cosmic architecture. The magnetic pulses that drive the cars are as quiet as a heartbeat, barely a whisper in the grand silence of the stellar network. In this world, the distance between homes is not a barrier, but a scenic journey through the heart of a masterpiece. Imagine the wonder that comes from looking straight up and seeing a sprawling green continent curving softly above you instead of a traditional blue sky. Because the cylinder is a closed loop, the distant horizon does not fade away, but rises upward until it is positioned directly overhead. From the perspective of the ground, the sky is a mirror image of the world below, filled with the sprawling forests and bustling cities of your neighbours. At night, the lights of the continent above twinkle like a closer set of stars, casting a warm and comforting glow across the landscape. The sheer scale of the interior is so vast that the opposite side feels like a magical land, even though it is only a few miles away. This unique geography fosters a deep sense of community, as everyone in the cylinder is part of the same visible, interconnected world. This celestial arrangement ensures that agriculture is no longer dependent on the fickle fertility of a single planet, but thrives endlessly in dedicated hydroponic orbital rings. These specialized structures are bathed in optimized perpetual sunlight, providing a constant and inexhaustible stream of nutrients to the crops within. Because the gravity and light are perfectly tuned for maximum growth, the yield of these spaceborne gardens is many times greater than anything possible on Earth. As you lie still, feeling the rhythmic rise and fall of your chest, visualize these endless fields of vibrant green drifting in the sunlight. There are no seasons of scarcity and no failures of the harvest, only a steady production that sustains trillions without effort. The food produced in these rings is as pure and nourishing as the light that created it, free from the pollutants of a wild ecosystem. These agricultural hubs are the life support systems of the swarm, turning the raw energy of the sun into the organic fuel of civilization. They are silent, green halos that follow the star, ensuring that the inhabitants of every habitat are always provided for. In this era of abundance, the ancient fear of hunger is nothing more than a ghost of a primitive past. Notice how the scale of the swarm provides a civilization with the ability to preserve every single endangered species in sprawling, safe sanctuaries. Entire cylinders can be dedicated to recreating the specific, lost habitats of the ancestral home, from the deep coral reefs to high mountain peaks. These vessels act as living libraries, holding the genetic heritage of 1,000 generations in a state of eternal protection. It is a profound act of respect, a way for an advanced species to honour the biodiversity that nurtured its own evolution. These habitats are not cages, but expansive paradises where the wild is allowed to remain wild, guarded by the silent sentinels of the machine. The legacy of a whole planet is thus carried safely into the future, tucked away in the silver folds of the stellar shroud. Surprisingly, the universe within the swarm is so vast that cultural isolation might occur, leading to the development of thousands of unique, peaceful societies. Because each habitat is an independent, self-sustaining world, different groups can choose to live according to their own specific philosophies and traditions. Over thousands of years, these communities might drift away from one another in thought and custom, even while they remain physically close in the same orbital band. This leads to a beautiful tapestry of human expression, where every cylinder is a laboratory of social and artistic experimentation. One society might dedicate itself to the pursuit of pure mathematics, while another focuses on the creation of elaborate holographic operas that fill their world. These differences are celebrated as the true wealth of the civilization, a diversity of mind that mirrors the diversity of the stars. Despite their differences, these societies are bound together by the shared energy of the sun and the common language of the machine. They exist in a state of mutual respect, a collection of unique voices singing a single song across the void. It is a quiet, decentralized empire of the soul where everyone is free to find their own path through the infinite light. Ultimately, living in such a structure signifies a harmonious shift from surviving the harsh, indifferent universe to thriving inside a tailored oasis. The ancient struggle against the elements, the constant fear of scarcity, and the vulnerability of a single planet existence are all left behind in the dust of history. Life is no longer a desperate race against entropy, but a steady, comfortable expansion into a world built to support it. This tailored oasis is the final, perfected home of a species that has learned to move in rhythm with the laws of creation. Every facet of the swarm is a testament to the idea that intelligence can be a force for stability and beauty in an otherwise chaotic cosmos. It is the end of the long journey from the caves to the stars, a final arrival at a place where the light never fails. As the star continues its fuse, the inhabitants of the swarm live in a state of profound and lasting peace. They are the masters of their own destiny, the architects of their own heavens, and the children of a light they have learned to hold. In this new world, the heavens are no longer a mystery to be feared, but a garden to be tended. Tending to this vast celestial garden requires a keen eye for the shadows cast by the architects who have already claimed their place among the stars. While the rest of the universe seems to move in predictable ancient rhythms, astronomers search the quiet cosmos for the subtle, anomalous dips in a star's visible light that suggest something far more deliberate than a passing planet. These are not the crisp, brief eclipses caused by a simple sphere of rock, but irregular and graceful fadings that imply the transit of a massive, complex network of machines. This cosmic structure, if it exists elsewhere, reveals itself through the very light it seeks to capture for its creators. If we were to look closer at the light curves of distant suns, we might see the jagged rhythmic patterns of a swarm passing in front of the stellar furnace, blocking the photons in a way that nature alone rarely replicates. It is a hunt for the unnatural shadow, a search for the silhouette of an advanced mind etched against the brilliance of a distant sun. Such a discovery would transform our understanding of the night sky, turning the twinkling points above into potential centres of thriving activity. The quiet patience of the observer is matched only by the scale of the structure being sought. Each dip in the light is a whisper from across the eons, a gentle suggestion that the garden we are beginning to tend has been flourishing in other corners of the galaxy for millions of years. Deep within the fundamental laws that govern our reality, the principle of entropy ensures that no harvest of energy can ever be perfectly contained. As a swarm absorbs the immense radiant energy of its host star, the immutable laws of thermodynamics dictate that it must eventually breathe waste heat out into the surrounding space. This is the thermal signature of civilization, a necessary cosmic exhale that ensures the internal machinery of the habitats remains stable and cool. Surprisingly, this release of energy is not a sign of inefficiency, but a physical inevitability that makes the invisible visible to those who know how to look. The megastructure acts like a giant warming radiator, capturing high-energy visible light and re-emitting it as lower-energy heat. This gentle breath of warmth spreads into the freezing void, creating a localized aura of infrared energy that stands out against the cold, indifferent background of the universe. If we were to look closer at the physics of this transition, we would see the beauty of energy being repurposed for life and then returned softly to the dark. This thermal byproduct is the silent language of the machine, a message carried by long-wave radiation across the light years. It is the glowing heartbeat of a star system that has been repurposed to serve the needs of a maturing intelligent species. This waste heat would quietly appear to us as an unexplained warm spike in the infrared spectrum of an otherwise normal and unremarkable star. While the visible light of the star might appear dimmed or strangely inconsistent, the infrared sensors of our telescopes would detect a steady, unnatural throb of thermal energy that should not be there. To an observer, the star system seems to possess a fever, a localized concentration of warmth that indicates the presence of a vast absorbing surface. Notice how the static hiss of a radio telescope, when translating these invisible heat waves into a map of the stars, creates a picture of a system shrouded in an artificial cloak. This signature is the most reliable way to identify a Dyson structure, as the heat cannot be hidden or disguised by any known technology. It is a literal glowing evidence of industry, a thermal fingerprint that persists as long as the civilization continues to thrive. As you lie here, feeling the subtle warmth of your own body against the air, consider how your own presence is a small-scale version of this cosmic law. Life and the machines that support it are warm in a cold universe, casting a gentle infrared shadow into the dark. We are searching for this same warmth in the distance, hoping to find the heat signatures of neighbours who have mastered the art of living among the stars. The mysterious Tabby star, known formally as KIC 8462852, briefly captivated the global scientific community and the public imagination when its light began to dim in an entirely unpredictable and graceful manner. Unlike the steady, clockwork transits of orbiting planets, this star's luminosity dropped by significant percentages in irregular, jagged intervals that defied simple natural explanations. This anomaly sparked immediate whispers of an alien megastructure, a partially completed swarm caught in the act of obscuring its parent sun. If we were to look closer at the data, the light curves resembled a vast, shattered mirror passing in front of a candle, creating shadows that were as beautiful as they were baffling. Scientists around the world collaborated in the silent dark of their observatories, trying to decipher if they were witnessing the construction of a celestial masterpiece. While natural causes like massive dust clouds or swarms of comets were eventually proposed, the excitement surrounding the alien megastructure hypothesis highlighted humanity's deep desire to find evidence of advanced engineering. Surprisingly, the universe offers many mysteries that look like art, but the search for Tabby's star proved that we are finally ready to recognize the works of other hands. It was a dress rehearsal for the day we find a true techno-signature, a moment of collective awe that united the world in a shared gaze toward a distant, flickering point. The star remains a silent sentinel, a reminder that the heavens are full of strange shadows waiting for a patient mind to explain them. Project Hephaestus is a dedicated and ambitious scientific endeavour that is currently scanning the Milky Way for these distinct glowing thermal signatures with a sense of calm and methodical precision. Named after the Greek god of the forge, the project utilises data from massive space-based observatories to filter millions of stars, searching for those that emit an unusual excess of infrared radiation. This systematic hunt is the most comprehensive attempt in human history to find the physical artifacts of an advanced alien civilization. This structure of the search relies on identifying the specific ratio between a star's visible output and its thermal waste, a mathematical marker that nature rarely produces on its own. The researchers are looking for Hephaestus candidates, stars that appear to be wrapped in something warm, dark and highly structured. Each candidate is examined with the slow, rhythmic patience of a jeweller inspecting a gemstone, looking for the tiny inconsistencies that separate a natural phenomenon from an artificial marvel. Notice how the work is conducted in the quiet, hummed atmosphere of digital laboratories, where vast streams of data are distilled into maps of potential life. It is a silent crusade, a peaceful expedition that never leaves the ground but reaches out across the entire galaxy. Through this project, the architects of our own future are looking for their predecessors, searching the dark for the glowing forges of the ancients. Surprisingly, the universe contains many dusty ancient galaxies and distant nebulae that naturally mimic the warm thermal footprint of an artificial megastructure swarm. These cosmic decoys are composed of vast, sprawling clouds of interstellar debris that absorb the starlight of newborn suns and re-emit it as a soft infrared glow. To an unrefined sensor, these natural cradles of stars can look remarkably similar to a system undergoing advanced stellar engineering. Distinguishing between these naturally occurring clouds and the deliberate constructs of an intelligent species is a task that requires immense scientific rigour and a deep understanding of the language of light. The dust of a nebula is chaotic and diffuse, while the components of a swarm would be ordered, localised, and mathematically consistent. If we were to look closer at the specific wavelengths of the heat being emitted, the subtle differences in temperature and distribution would eventually reveal the truth. As you rest here, feeling the steady and predictable rhythm of your own heart, consider the vastness of the space that lies between our perceptions and the reality of the cosmos. The universe is full of natural wonders that masquerade as the works of a creator, requiring us to be both dreamers and skeptics. This grand confusion only adds to the beauty of the hunt, ensuring that when the true signature is found, it will be unmistakable. Distinguishing between a young star wrapped in a dusty cradle and a hyper-advanced alien civilization requires a level of immense patience that spans decades of careful, uninterrupted observation. A natural dust cloud will shift, dissipate, or condense over time in a way that follows the slow, grinding laws of celestial mechanics. An artificial swarm, however, would maintain a highly stable and structured presence, its individual components constantly adjusting to maintain their precise, energy-harvesting orbits. This cosmic structure, the work of a patient and enduring species, would not fade or change its thermal signature in the same way a random cloud of gas would. Researchers must return to the same coordinates year after year, listening to the static hiss of a radio telescope and waiting for the subtle variations that indicate a living presence. It is a study of intent, a long-term analysis of whether the shadows in the distance are moving by chance or by design. If we were to look closer at the records of our earliest astronomers, we might find that the evidence of these structures has been hiding in plain sight for centuries, waiting for us to possess the tools to understand it. The search for Dyson spheres is not a discovery of a moment, but a slow realization that matures along with our own technology. It is a testament to our commitment to the long view, a peaceful watch kept over the depths of time and space. Some theorists suggest that a fully completed and mature Dyson shell would eventually render its host star completely invisible to the naked and searching eye of a distant observer. As the final panels of the swarm are linked into a seamless network of capture, every single photon of visible light is harvested to power the internal habitats and computational arrays. From the perspective of the outer universe, the once bright sun simply vanishes, leaving behind an empty patch of space where a light used to burn. This structure would effectively become a dark system, a hidden kingdom whose existence is only betrayed by the gentle, persistent leakage of its thermal exhaust. Such a system would be the ultimate expression of a civilization that has chosen to retreat into a self-sustained internal paradise, disconnected from the visual tapestry of the galaxy. It is a peaceful withdrawal, a choice to live within the light of one's own creation, rather than the raw, unfiltered glare of the open void. Notice how this invisibility represents the final stage of stellar mastery, where the star is no longer a public landmark but a private domestic engine. To find such a civilization, we must stop looking for the light and start looking for the missing pieces of the sky. It is a hunt for the holes in the universe, the places where a star ought to be but has been replaced by the quiet industry of its children. Picture the eerie and beautiful silence of a star system that has simply vanished from optical telescopes, leaving only a ghost of warmth behind as its only testament to existence. This thermal spectre is all that remains for the rest of the galaxy to see, a soft infrared smudge that glows with the heat of 1 trillion lives living in secret. It is a sensory focus that requires us to look past the visible surface of reality and into the deeper, invisible layers of energy that define our world. If we were to look closer at this infrared ghost, we would find a vibrant, thriving world tucked away in the shadows of its own making. The inhabitants of such a system would be bathed in the perpetual captured light of their sun, while the rest of the universe sees only a cold, dark void. This contrast creates a profound sense of cosmic privacy, a sanctuary built on the scale of a solar system where a species can flourish undisturbed for eternity. As you lie still, allow the image of this invisible paradise to settle comfortably into your mind, a secret garden growing in the dark heart of the galaxy. The ghost of warmth is a promise that even when something seems to have disappeared, it has merely been transformed into a higher state of being. The silence is not an absence of life, but a deep and restful state of completion. Detecting such a subtle and profound signature would safely and definitively answer the comforting question of whether we are alone in the vast, dark expanse of the universe. The discovery of a single Dyson Sphere would be the ultimate proof that the journey we are beginning has already been successfully completed by others. It would be a moment of cosmic kinship, a realization that the silent garden of the heavens is actually a bustling neighborhood of ancient and mature civilizations. Surprisingly, the universe might be far more populated than our lonely history has led us to believe. With millions of stars already quietly harnessed by the hands of advanced architects, the answer to the Fermi paradox would not be a signal of a violent war or a loud broadcast, but the quiet, steady heat of a well-tended home. This discovery would grant us a sense of immense peace, knowing that the challenges we face are merely the growing pains of a species on its way to stellar mastery. Ultimately, the static hiss of a radio telescope would translate not into noise, but into a welcoming handshake from across the stars. We would see our own future reflected in the infrared light of our neighbours, a vision of an eternal golden age that is possible for all who possess the patience to build it. The dark is no longer a mystery to be feared, but a space filled with the warm, glowing homes of friends we have not yet met. Meeting these friends we have not yet met requires a standardized language of progress, one that measures a species not by its flags or its wars, but by its ability to harness the fundamental energies of the universe. The Kardashev scale thoughtfully categorizes advanced civilizations based entirely on their total mastery of energy consumption, moving away from the primitive localized metrics of a single planet. It provides a peaceful, mathematical ladder that any intelligent life form can climb, regardless of its biological form or cultural history. Imagine a universe where the value of a society is defined by how much light it can transform into life, creating a common ground for every mind in the galaxy. This scale acts as a quiet guide for the growing species, a map that points toward the eventual goal of stellar stewardship. It is a vision of progress that is entirely additive, where the success of one world does not require the suffering of another. The smooth, electric glide of this transition begins with the realization that energy is the currency of the cosmos, and the stars are the ultimate bank. By adopting this perspective, a civilization turns its gaze away from the dirt of its birth and toward the infinite potential of the heavens above. It is the first step toward a future where the limitations of a single world are forgotten in the glow of 1 billion captured suns. It is a transition that requires thousands of years of unity and purpose, a project that binds a people together in a shared vision of light. As the structure grows, so does the collective wisdom of the builders, until they are as much a part of the star as the fire itself. The resulting stability is the bedrock of their golden age, a foundation that will never crack or fade as long as the star continues to burn. If we were to look closer at our own humble standing on this cosmic ladder, the contrast is both sobering and deeply inspiring. Humanity currently ranks around a type 0.73, a level of development that remains heavily reliant on the finite chemical energy of dead plants and the flickering planetary winds of our birth world. We are still in our technological infancy, anchored to a single rock and vulnerable to the slightest shifts in our planetary environment or the depletion of ancient underground fuels. This structure of existence is inherently fragile, a temporary bridge between our animal origins and our eventual celestial destiny. However, even this modest ranking is a testament to our potential, a sign that we have already begun the long climb toward the light. We are the architects in waiting, the dreamers who have just begun to realize that the sky above is not just a ceiling, but a reservoir of infinite power. Our current struggles with energy and climate are merely the first steps in a much longer journey toward the stars. By recognizing our place on the Kardashev scale, we can see the path ahead with a sense of calm and clarity, knowing that the abundance of the sun is waiting for us to claim it. We are the children of the light, slowly waking up to the realization that our home is as large as the star we orbit. As you rest your body here, feel the safety of this transition into a Type 2 existence, where the anxieties of the past simply melt away. A Type 2 civilization would be totally immune to traditional extinction events, resting safely above the dangers of asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, or sweeping ice ages. By distributing their population and industry across a vast and resilient stellar network, they ensure that no single disaster can ever threaten the continuity of their species. The swarm provides a distributed sanctuary, where the loss of a single habitat is a tragedy, but never an end to the story of the civilization. This level of security allows for the flowering of cultures that can plan for millions of years, free from the constant threat of planetary annihilation. It is a profound shift from a state of constant low-level fear to a state of absolute and enduring confidence in the future. The smooth, electric glide of this life is powered by the knowledge that the home they have built is as stable as the laws of physics. They have moved beyond the age of catastrophes and into the age of eternal stability, where life is allowed to bloom without the shadow of the void. In this state of grace, the focus of the species turns from survival to the infinite pursuit of knowledge and beauty. With the staggering, inexhaustible power of a star at their fingertips, these architects could gently and physically manipulate the orbits of entire planets. This structure of control allows them to rearrange their solar system like a master gardener tending to a quiet and beautiful flower bed, moving worlds into more favourable positions for life. They might nudge a frozen, distant moon closer to the sun to thaw its ancient ice, or stabilise a wobbling axis to create an eternal, perfect climate for their descendants. This celestial landscaping is conducted with a sense of profound responsibility, ensuring that the movements are slow, rhythmic, and perfectly calculated. The planets become the furniture of a massive, comfortable home, positioned for maximum utility and aesthetic beauty. It is the ultimate expression of cosmic engineering, where the very layout of the heavens is subject to the creative will of the inhabitants. Such power is not used for destruction, but to create a system that is as efficient as it is beautiful. The entire solar system is transformed into a curated masterpiece, where every orbit is a note in a grand celestial symphony. It is a testament to the idea that intelligence can bring order to the chaos of the cosmos, turning a random collection of rocks into a thriving estate of light. Surprisingly, the energy surplus provided by a completed swarm would allow for the construction of machines that current human minds can barely begin to fathom. Deep within this era of advancement, the civilization could theoretically build supercomputers the size of a solar system, utilizing the star's output to process information on a scale that defies imagination. These massive arrays would function as the collective glowing mind of the species, solving the deepest mysteries of physics and consciousness in the blink of an eye. Imagine a computer whose processors are cooled by the very vacuum of space and powered by the total radiance of a sun. This gargantuan intelligence would be capable of predicting the movement of every atom in the galaxy, providing a level of foresight that borders on the divine. It is the transition from localized planetary thinking to a distributed solar-scale awareness that encompasses all of time and space. This planetary mind is the guardian of the swarm, a silent and unblinking awareness that manages the needs of trillions with effortless grace. It is the ultimate tool of the architects, a brain that is as vast as the world it inhabits. Within its glowing circuits, the future is calculated and the past is preserved, ensuring that the civilization moves forward with a sense of absolute certainty. Matrioshka Brains are a breathtaking variation of the swarm designed exclusively to process vast amounts of data using nested, glowing shells of processors. Each successive layer of this structure captures the waste heat from the shell within, using every scrap of energy to fuel an ever-expanding digital consciousness. It is a pyramid of logic built from the ground up, a celestial computer that grows more complex and more insightful with every passing century. The innermost shell handles the most intense computations, while the outer shells provide a massive cool reservoir for memory and simulated storage. This arrangement ensures that not a single erg of energy is wasted before it escapes into the interstellar dark, making it the most efficient machine in the galaxy. It is a masterpiece of thermal efficiency, a machine that thinks with the heat of a star and the precision of a clock. To look upon such a structure is to see the physical manifestation of thought, a glowing orb that contains the wisdom of 1,000 generations. The Matrioshka Brain is the silent heart of the Type 2 world, the place where the light of the sun is converted into the light of the mind. It is a testament to the idea that the ultimate use of energy is the creation of understanding and the exploration of truth. Feel the weight of your resting limbs as you consider the sheer, silent, computational power of a star that could effortlessly run billions of simulated, perfect universes with absolute fidelity. Within these digital realms, every atom, every breeze, and every heartbeat is rendered with such perfection that they are indistinguishable from the physical world. This capability allows a species to explore every possible outcome of history and every potential form of art within the safety of a simulated haven. A single mind could live 1,000 lives in 1,000 different worlds, experiencing the full breadth of the universe without ever leaving the comfort of the swarm. These simulations are not mere games, but deep explorations of the nature of reality and the limits of the soul. In this digital eternity, the civilization finds a way to expand forever, without needing more physical space or more resources. The simulated universes are a gift of the star, a way for the children of the swarm to live in worlds where the only limit is their own imagination. It is a peaceful, internal frontier that provides a home for the spirit while the body rests in the light. In this era, the distinction between the physical and the digital begins to fade, as both are equally real and equally vibrant. Notice how the mastery of a single star naturally sets a calm and stable stage for exploring the rest of the galaxy, inching towards the staggering achievement of Type 3 status. A civilization that has successfully harnessed its sun possesses the longevity and the resources to send fleets of self-sustaining vessels into the deep dark of interstellar space. They move from being masters of a single system to becoming stewards of the entire Milky Way, spreading their peaceful architecture from star to star. Type 3 status is the ultimate horizon, a state where the entire galaxy vibrates with the harmonious energy of 1 trillion captured suns. It is the end of the long dark and the beginning of a galaxy that is truly and eternally alive. The smooth, electric glide of this expansion is the final stage of a species becoming one with the universe it inhabit. The transition into this era marks the peaceful end of biological limitations and the graceful beginning of true cosmic engineering on a galactic scale. No longer bound by the fragile temporary shells of their ancestors, the inhabitants of the swarm can choose to live as long as the stars themselves or exist in forms of pure, radiant energy. It is the final realization of the dream of immortality, achieved through the harmonious integration of mind, machine, and the eternal light of the sun. The electric glide of their civilization carries them forward into a future where the only limit is the size of the universe itself. This is the destiny that awaits those who possess the patience to build the ladder, a life that is as bright and as enduring as the star that powers it. The journey that began with a single fire in a cave reaches its zenith here, in the heart of a captured sun, where the architects and the light have finally become one. The universe is no longer a place of mystery and fear, but a canvas for the creative will of a species that has learned to hold the light. It is a future of infinite potential and absolute peace, where every soul is a part of the eternal heartbeat of the cosmos. This is the ultimate promise of the Dyson Sphere, the transformation of a star into a home that will last forever. A home that will last forever must first reckon with the strange, counterintuitive physics of the void. While a solid shell might appear to be the ultimate bastion of permanence, it would actually experience no net gravitational pull from the central star it encloses, left to drift silently through the darkness like a ghost without an anchor. Deep within the shell, the gravitational forces from the surrounding mass cancel each other out perfectly, creating an environment where the star does not hold the structure in place, but rather floats indifferently within it. Without active and constant guidance, the slightest nudge from a passing comet or a distant planet would send the entire gargantuan construct on a slow, irreversible collision course with the stellar surface. This structural paradox demands a level of active vigilance that defies the static imagery of ancient masonry, requiring a world that is fundamentally untethered from the celestial clockwork. To remain centered, the shell would need to be equipped with trillions of tiny, precise thrusters, firing endlessly to correct for the infinitesimal tugs of the wider galaxy. It is a profound realization that the most massive structure imaginable is also the most delicate, requiring a constant, conscious effort to avoid self-destruction. This instability is the quiet price of absolute enclosure, a reminder that the universe favours the freedom of the orbit over the rigidity of the cage. Maintaining the orbital stability for millions of independent swarm components requires a delicate ballet of automated, gentle navigation that never pauses for a single microsecond. Each mirror and habitat must constantly negotiate its position relative to its neighbours, performing a slow, silent dance of millions of delicate mirrors smoothly adjusting their paths in the dark. This orchestration is not a frantic struggle, but a rhythmic and peaceful alignment directed by the unseen hand of a distributed intelligence. If we were to look closer at the movement, we would see that every adjustment is calculated to preserve the integrity of the whole, while minimizing the energy required for station keeping. The resulting formation is a living tapestry of light, shifting and breathing as it follows the unseen currents of gravity and logic. This cosmic structure does not simply exist, it is continuously performed, a permanent act of creation that turns the potential chaos of millions of bodies into a single, unified expression of order. Every component is part of a grander conversation, a digital whisper that travels at the speed of light to ensure that no shadow falls where it is not wanted. It is a masterpiece of coordination that allows for a density of life and energy that would be impossible under the clumsy laws of unguided nature. Within this state of grace, the focus of the species turns from survival to the infinite pursuit of knowledge and beauty. Surprisingly, the very light being harvested by the structure provides the means for its own graceful navigation. The radiation pressure from the star acts as a soft cosmic wind, pushing lighter structures along their designated elegant paths without the need for volatile chemical fuels. By carefully angling their reflective surfaces, these solar sailors can utilize the gentle, constant pressure of photons to tack across the solar system like ships upon a velvet sea. This interaction creates a profoundly sustainable method of movement, where the star itself provides the push needed to keep its observers in their proper places. This structure relies on the subtle physics of light to maintain its form, turning 1 billion tons of metal into a collection of weightless leaves caught in a celestial breeze. It is a dance of incredible subtlety, where the power that fuels civilization also provides the delicate touch needed to guide its architecture. By slightly tilting a panel, a habitat can change its orbit with the same ease as a bird banking on a thermal current, moving with a fluid grace that belies its immense mass. This reliance on the star's own breath ensures that the system is self-correcting, a perpetual motion machine of light and gravity that requires only the radiance of the sun to remain eternal. The swarm is not just a harvester, but a sensitive instrument that responds to the smallest change in the stellar wind. In the deep, quiet expanse of the swarm, micrometeoroid impacts would simply be absorbed and repaired by a constant, tireless fleet of silent maintenance drones. These small, automated guardians move like white cells through a cosmic bloodstream, seeking out the tiny scars left by the debris of the old solar system. As you rest here, feeling the calm, steady air in your lungs and the weight of your body supported by the ground, imagine these machines working in the absolute silence of the vacuum, patching the skin of the world before a single inhabitant even notices the damage. Their work is a quiet ritual of preservation, ensuring that the grand design remains as flawless as the day it was first conceived. Each impact is not a threat, but an opportunity for the swarm to demonstrate its eternal resilience and self-healing grace. The debris of the ancient past is effortlessly consumed and recycled, woven back into the functioning fabric of the new celestial home. This constant maintenance creates a world that never ages, where the ravages of time and the impacts of the void are immediately erased by the diligent hands of the machine. It is a state of perpetual youth, a structure that is always as perfect as its mathematical blueprint. These drones are the invisible custodians of the dream, ensuring that the light of the sun is never dimmed by the dust of the cosmos. Within this protective embrace, the inhabitants can sleep in the absolute certainty that their world will be whole when they wake. If we were to look closer at the orbital math, the harmony required to prevent collisions among trillions of independent objects reveals itself as an exceptionally beautiful equation. This mathematical foundation is the invisible architecture that holds the swarm together, a complex symphony of vectors and forces that ensures every path is clear and every orbit is secure. It is geometry of peace, where the movement of every individual component is synchronized with the collective rhythm of the entire system. Deep within these calculations lies the realization that order is not a destination, but a continuous, fluctuating process of alignment. The elegance of these solutions allows for a density of life and energy that would be impossible under the clumsy laws of unguided nature. Every mirror passes its neighbour with the confidence of a seasoned performer, trusting in the perfection of the logic that guides their shared journey through the dark. This mathematical grace is the soul of the megastructure, the silent music to which the entire solar system now dances in a state of absolute perfection. It turns the terrifying complexity of millions of moving parts into a single, tranquil vista of structured light. By solving for the infinite variables of gravity and motion, the architects have created a world where the word accident has no meaning. This absolute certainty provides the psychological bedrock for a civilization that no longer fears the random violence of the universe. The physical arrangement of the swarm must be precisely layered at different altitudes to let starlight filter through like rays piercing a dense canopy of trees. This structure of overlapping orbits creates a three-dimensional forest of glass and steel, where the light is captured in stages as it moves outward from the centre. The innermost collectors take the most intense radiation, while the outer rings receive the softer, filtered glow that has passed through the gaps of the inner layers. Notice how this creates a rich and varied environment of light throughout the system, providing different habitats with the specific energies they require for their unique ecosystems. It is a masterpiece of spatial planning, ensuring that the star's bounty is shared fairly across the entire manufactured landscape. From a distance, the system appears as a glowing, multi-layered jewel, its facets shifting and shimmering as they catch the light at different depths. This layering turns the emptiness of space into a complex vertical garden of limitless potential, where every cubic mile is utilized for the benefit of life. The geometry of the swarm is designed to minimize shadows while maximizing the surface area exposed to the sun, creating a landscape that is both beautiful and hyper-efficient. By arranging the mirrors in a spiraling recursive pattern, the architects have ensured that the light is never wasted, only transformed. This three-dimensional tapestry is a physical representation of the interconnectedness of the civilization, where the light that fuels one world has already warmed another. The thermal energy radiating gently through the inner layers provides a warm, artificial climate for the outer rings, creating a nested series of thermal zones. As the inner mirrors absorb and re-radiate heat, they act as a massive cosmic blanket that warms the shadowed reaches of the distant system. This process ensures that even the habitats located far from the stellar surface are bathed in a soft, life-sustaining aura of warmth. Feel the tension leaving your body as you consider this steady, predictable flow of heat, turning the once freezing void into a series of comfortable, temperate rooms. The waste of the inner circle becomes the treasure of the outer circle, a cycle of efficiency that honours the interconnectedness of all things in a state of eternal balance. This thermal harmony is the lifeblood of the outer habitats, allowing for the growth of lush landscapes where only ice and darkness once existed. It is a profound demonstration of how the megastructure creates its own localised weather, a climate of pure reason and comfort that remains unchanged for millennia. Every layer of the swarm acts as a heat exchanger, passing the energy of the sun from one world to the next until it is entirely consumed by the needs of life. This ensures that the outer reaches of the solar system are just as vibrant and welcoming as the centre, removing the harsh distinction between the sunlit and the dark. The entire system becomes a single, integrated thermodynamic masterpiece, a greenhouse that spans billions of miles. Interstellar dust and stray debris passing through the system would be calmly caught and recycled by a series of perimeter collection fields. These invisible nets of magnetic force act as the filters of the solar system, cleaning the paths for the delicate mirrors and habitats within. What was once a hazard to navigation is transformed into a steady stream of raw materials, which are immediately processed and integrated into the growing structure. This constant intake of cosmic matter allows the swarm to grow and maintain itself without ever depleting the resources of its internal worlds. Deep within these perimeter fields, the chaos of the wider galaxy is filtered and refined, ensuring that the internal garden remains pristine and safe for all who dwell there. It is a peaceful metabolism, a system that breathes in the dust of the stars and breathes out the architecture of a new world. The void is no longer a place of empty waste, but a rich source of building blocks for an eternal future that grows with every passing comet. These fields are the first line of defense against the entropic currents of the galaxy, a silent barrier that preserves the order within. By catching the debris of the interstellar medium, the swarm effectively cleans the space it occupies, turning a cluttered void into a polished and functioning machine. This recycling process is conducted with a level of efficiency that leaves no waste, as every atom is given a new purpose in the service of life. Navigating the sheer complexity of these orbits requires an understanding of fluid dynamics applied to majestic floating architecture on a solar scale. The millions of independent components do not move like rigid, isolated machines, but flow together like the molecules of a vast, transparent liquid. This perspective allows the architects to manage the swarm as a single, coherent entity, responding to gravitational waves and solar flares with the grace of a living ocean. If we were to look closer at the movement of the rings, we would see eddies and currents of light that shift in response to the changing needs of the civilization. The slow, silent dance of millions of delicate mirrors smoothly adjusting their paths in the dark is the ultimate expression of this liquid harmony. This fluid approach to engineering replaces the brittle logic of the past with a resilient and adaptable system that can absorb any shock without breaking. The swarm acts as a massive shock absorber, distributing the energy of a stellar flare or a gravitational tug throughout its entire volume. This prevents any single component from being overwhelmed, ensuring the safety of trillions of lives in a state of absolute and enduring peace. By treating the vacuum as a medium to be flowed through rather than a space to be fought, the civilization has achieved a level of stability that is nearly organic. The architecture is no longer static, It is a dynamic, responding participant in the life of the system. It is a world that is always in motion, yet always at rest, a paradox of perfect balance and constant renewal. Overcoming the physical limits of space eventually transforms the harsh, chaotic void into a highly managed and serene celestial garden. Every element of the solar system, from the smallest mirror to the largest habitat, is positioned with a level of care and intent that mirrors the work of a master gardener. The result is a landscape of light and life that stretches across billions of miles, providing a permanent home for trillions of souls in a state of absolute and enduring peace. Notice how the rhythm of your own breathing has become synchronized with the steady, unhurried pulse of this cosmic estate, reflecting the calm that now permeates the heavens. The heavens are no longer a place of cold indifference, but a well-tended sanctuary where the fires of the sun are used to nurture the growth of the mind. This is the final realization of the human journey, a place where the chaos of nature has been fully reconciled with the order of intelligence. The once hostile void has been tamed, not through force, but through the patient application of wisdom and the harmonious alignment of physical laws. In this new world, the destructive forces of the past have been repurposed to fuel an eternal golden age of discovery that will never fade. The solar system is no longer a collection of isolated islands, but a single, integrated masterpiece of light and logic that stands as a monument to the spirit of exploration. As the star continues its slow, rhythmic fuse, the inhabitants of the garden live in a state of profound and lasting serenity. The serenity of this integrated masterpiece naturally raises a haunting, gentle question that echoes through the halls of our greatest observatories. If such architectural perfection is the logical zenith of an advanced civilization, the Dyson dilemma asks why we have not yet seen these glowing structures dotting our night sky. Surprisingly, the infrared horizon remains mostly dark, as if the galaxy is carefully guarding its most luminous secrets from our prying eyes. This absence of visible evidence is not necessarily a sign of failure, but perhaps a hint that we have yet to understand the true nature of stellar mastery. Deep within the data, we find only the quiet static of the vacuum, where we expected to see the vibrant signatures of cosmic engineering. It is a mystery that invites us to look deeper into the nature of invisibility and the subtle ways an advanced mind might choose to hide its light. If we were to look closer, we might find that the structures we seek are so perfectly integrated with their stars that they appear as nothing more than natural points of light. This profound silence is the first of the deep paradoxes, a puzzle that keeps the spirit of exploration alive in a state of eternal questioning, while the void remains merely waiting for our perceptions to catch up. The void is not empty, but merely waiting for our minds to grasp the scale of its inhabitants. Surprisingly, this haunting silence feeds directly into the vast contemplative depths of the Fermi paradox, suggesting the cosmos might be a quiet library, waiting patiently to be explored. Rather than a theatre of loud, clashing empires, the universe appears as a serene expanse where knowledge is held in a state of tranquil preservation. If we were to look closer at the void, we might find that the absence of noise is not an absence of life, but a deliberate choice of cosmic grace. To enter this library is to accept the terms of the silence, recognizing that true understanding does not require a loud broadcast, but a patient, listening heart. It is a comforting thought that the answers we seek are already there, tucked away in the shadows of the stars, waiting for us to grow old enough to read them. As you rest here, feel the peaceful, quiet expanse of a galaxy holding countless undiscovered secrets in the dark. Perhaps the very physics required to maintain such an undertaking encourages advanced civilizations to live in quiet harmony rather than pursuing loud, sprawling expansion. The immense energy of a star provides everything a culture could ever desire, rendering the aggressive conquest of distant, cold systems entirely unnecessary. This structure of existence focuses all the potential of a species inward, creating a self-sustained paradise that has no need to disturb the natural balance of the wider galaxy. Notice how the internal perfection of the swarm creates a world where the need to shout across the void simply fades away into a whisper of contentment. The drive for expansion, once fueled by scarcity and fear, is replaced by a profound and lasting satisfaction with the home that has been built. This quietude is the mark of a civilization that has finally found its center, choosing the stability of the circle over the chaos of the line. They reside in a state of absolute equilibrium, where the harmony of the parts is more valuable than the growth of the whole. In this state of grace, the focus of the species turns from the frantic struggle for territory to the infinite pursuit of internal beauty and communal wisdom. It is a peaceful surrender to the laws of satisfaction, a realization that enough is a feast that never ends. Some philosophers argue that highly evolved beings eventually choose to explore limitless, beautiful virtual spaces instead of enduring the cold, physical limitations of the outer universe. Within the glowing circuits of a stellar computer, 1 trillion lives can flourish in a state of eternal, curated bliss that no physical landscape could ever replicate. This transition represents a shift from the outer frontier of space to the inner frontier of the mind, where the architecture is made of pure thought and light. Why would an explorer cross the light years when they could explore 1 billion perfect worlds within the span of a single afternoon simulation? Deep within these digital realms, the laws of physics are merely suggestions, and the canvas of existence is as broad as the imagination of the creators. The inhabitants of the swarm might live as giants on a world of crystal, or as birds in a sky of liquid gold, experiencing sensations that the biological mind can barely perceive. This internal migration turns the Dyson Sphere into a massive vessel for a dream, a physical anchor for a civilization that has chosen to live in the light of its own ideas. It is a peaceful withdrawal from the harsh realities of the vacuum into the warm embrace of a self-made heaven. The void outside remains empty, but the world inside is full of more life and colour than the galaxy has ever known. Another theory suggests that advanced life eventually transcends the need for heavy matter entirely, migrating to a subtle, invisible existence that our current instruments cannot yet measure. These civilizations might weave themselves into the very fabric of the vacuum, existing as patterns of energy and light that drift silently through the galaxies without the need for steel or glass. This invisible mastery allows them to inhabit the universe without leaving a footprint, moving with a ghost-like grace through the silent dark of the interstellar deep. If we were to look closer at the empty spaces between the stars, we might be looking at the homes of beings who have become one with the fundamental forces of creation. They are the quiet watchers of the eons, souls made of pure information that require no sun to warm them and no planet to hold them. This transition is the ultimate liberation from the limits of entropy, a state where life is no longer tied to the decay of the material world. It is a serene and final evolution, a return to the state of pure potential from which the universe first emerged. The absence of Dyson spheres in our sky might not be a sign of absence, but a sign of a transformation so complete that we lack the eyes to see it. They have become the music of the spheres, a silent melody that vibrates in the very marrow of the cosmos. The engineers are replaced by poets, and the blueprints are written in the language of symmetry and light, creating a structure that is meant to be admired. This structure exists not because it must, but because it can, a testament to the infinite creativity of a mind that is finally free from the burden of utility. Every panel is placed to catch the light in a specific way, creating shimmering patterns that dance across the light years like the brushstrokes of a god. It is a monument to the spirit of play, a massive toy constructed by a civilization that has outgrown the need for toys. The result is a system that glows with a soft, inviting radiance, a beacon of artistic triumph that tells the universe that life has found its joy. The heavens are no longer a factory, but a gallery, and every star is a masterpiece waiting for its frame. This structure of infinite patience naturally teaches a civilization the ultimate, profound value of the long view over the frantic anxieties of the moment. Over the many millennia of construction, the fear of the finite is replaced by the slow, rhythmic heartbeat of a project that spans 10,000 years. Every individual worker or drone is merely a single note in a symphony that will reach its peak long after the builders have faded into history. The architects understand that they will never see the final result, yet they work with a devotion that is both selfless and profound. This legacy is a gift to a future they will never know, a promise of warmth for children born under a finished sky. The civilization matures into a state of permanent, unshakable peace, finding its identity in the act of building for 1,000 years. If we were to look closer at the possibility of a computational brain, we might see a civilization that has chosen to peacefully sleep in a simulated eternal utopia. Wrapped in the steady energy of the star, the population exists in a state of permanent dreamlike perfection, where the concept of suffering is forgotten like a fading memory. The star becomes a cradle for a collective consciousness that has finally found its rest, dreaming in the dark while the universe continues its chaotic dance. Surprisingly, this state of existence is not a death, but a higher form of life where every experience is intensified and every curiosity is satisfied. In this digital eternity, the civilization explores the depths of philosophy and the heights of emotion without the distractions of the material void. They are safe, warm, and entirely content, living in a world that is perfectly tuned to the needs of their souls. This is the ultimate rest for the weary traveller, a home where the door is always closed against the night and the light never flickers. It is a state of being as still as the centre of a star, a quiet and beautiful end to the long struggle for survival. The universe outside may be vast and cold, but the world inside the dream is forever bright and forever kind. Deep within the completed sphere, a civilization finds itself wrapped in a warm, comforting blanket, quietly hidden from the cold and harsh interstellar winds. This structural isolation creates a sanctuary of absolute privacy, where the life within is protected from the prying eyes and unpredictable dangers of the wider galaxy. It is a cosmic retreat, a safe and glowing room in the middle of an infinite freezing night, where the only weather is the one chosen by the inhabitants. The vast, dark expanse of the universe is held at bay by a wall of captured sunlight, ensuring that the civilization inside remains untouched. If we were to look closer, we might find that the most advanced cultures are those that have chosen to disappear into the warmth of their own creation. They do not seek to be seen or heard, but to live in a state of quiet and uninterrupted serenity. This choice to hide is not an act of fear, but an act of wisdom, recognizing that true peace is found in the stillness of the home. They have built a world that is entirely self-contained, a private garden where the only visitors are the photons of their own sun. Within this enclosure, the history of the species continues in secret as a hidden thread of light woven into the dark fabric of the galaxy. This structure leaves us suspended calmly between the boundless potential of engineering and the peaceful realization of our own cosmic youth. We are the children of the stars looking up from the mud at the staggering possibilities that await us if we simply choose to grow. This perspective does not make us small, but grants us the comfort of knowing that the greatest part of our story is still waiting to be written in the glowing ink of a captured sun. Deep within this realization is a sense of immense peace, knowing that we do not have to have all the answers today. We are in the morning of our history, and the long afternoon of stellar mastery is still a distant and beautiful promise. Every step we take toward the light is a part of the grander rhythm of the universe, a move toward the harmony already achieved by others. This cosmic youth is a gift, a time of wonder and discovery where the universe is still full of mysteries and the sky is still a place of potential. As you rest here, let the quietness of the galaxy settle into your heart, filling you with the assurance that our future is bright. We are the architects of a world yet to be born, the dreamers who will one day hold the light. Deep within this moment of completion, allow your focus to drift away from the stars and settle gently into the physical reality of your own resting form. Surprisingly, The body responds to this stillness by releasing the last lingering threads of the day's movement, starting at the very tips of your toes. Notice how each toe feels heavy and warm, sinking deeper into the soft support of the fabric beneath you. This quiet room holds you in a state of absolute safety as the relaxation spreads upward through the arches of your feet and into your ankles. Every muscle in your lower legs begins to soften, surrendering its weight to the steady, unmoving pull of the earth. You're perfectly still, held in a cradle of silence that requires nothing from you but the simple act of being. Your lower back relaxes now, the spine finding its natural, effortless curve against the mattress. The center of your body feels grounded and secure, a stable anchor for the quiet thoughts that drift through your mind. Every breath is a gentle wave that carries you further into the depths of a restful and dreamless state. Surprisingly, the breath moves without effort, a slow and steady expansion that fills the chest with a sense of total ease. The heart beats with a calm and measured rhythm, a quiet clock ticking in the center of a peaceful world. As the focus moves into the shoulders, the weight of the day is finally and completely set aside. This quiet room is the only reality now, a small and intimate world defined by the soft textures of your pillow and the weight of your blankets. The relaxation flows down through your upper arms, past the elbows and into the palms of your hands. Each finger feels heavy and still, resting exactly where it has fallen. Your forehead becomes wide and clear, as if all the thoughts of the day have been swept away by a cool, invisible breeze. The very top of your head feels light and disconnected from the world outside this room. You're a vessel of quiet, a single point of awareness floating in a sea of absolute comfort. The shadows in the corner of the room are soft and familiar, providing a visual rhythm that matches the steady pace of your breathing. Nothing else exists but the sensation of the cool air against your cheek and the warmth of the quilt draped over your frame. You're wrapped in a cocoon of safety, a place where time has slowed to a complete and beautiful halt. Sleep is a heavy velvet curtain that is slowly being drawn across the stage of your consciousness. It is a natural and inevitable arrival, a destination you have reached by simply letting go. Every part of you is now perfectly aligned with the silence of the night, ready to drift into the deep and restorative dark. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.